What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports performance coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing today, D Mack?
Live and direct, baby. Live and direct. Doing good. Feeling good. I got my it's not quite burnt. My cream orange, my creamsicle orange OU hat on today.
Yeah.
Check it out, man. I'm in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Chest plate looking
Yeah,
all right,
man.
bro.
Hey,
We getting good in the hood, man. Trying to get back to playing
hey.
weight. Doing good, doing good.
Beautiful, man. Man, well, what do you before we get into this, what do you think of the retro OU logo making such a comeback with the youngsters? What when you see that like the mid 90s look?
You talking about the italicized one or the circular
Yes,
OU?
the italicized one.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
Listen, Rocket, that's all history. Those are all logos that we rocked. You know what I'm saying? So I respect it. I tell you what I don't like. I don't like our 99 game pants with the thin stripes. I
Hmm.
like the thicker stripes. I like the thicker stripes. So, but nah, rock
Question.
'em, man. Go ahead.
So what did you think of I think it was the Schnellenberger year that they did the stripe around the
Dope, dope. I love those uniforms.
You
I like
do.
them
Okay.
with the OU on the hip. That looks
Yep.
nice. By the
Okay.
way, it was similar to Texas because Texas has the Longhorn on the hip. But those 95, 96 unis where they got the stripes on the sleeve and they got the
Okay.
OU on the hip, hey, them boys look sweet in them things. I came in stun. I liked it. I liked
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I like
I've
the
been
form fitting.
wondering. I've been wondering, man, if they were gonna do another throwback variation. The problem was, man, those 90s teams were so bad, and people would be like, why are you why are you like paying homage to that era?
Yeah, the
Right?
net
So,
jerseys and
yep.
this 4-7 records probably is not the look. So there's that.
Nah. Yeah, I mean, man, but like there's some times though, Nebraska had some guys and Miami has some guys who did the crop top net jerseys. You remember
Oh
that
yeah.
look?
Oh yeah.
That was a
Oh
killer
yeah.
look.
Who do we have? We had a receiver. He wore 88. He looked sweet in his. I liked it. By the way, I liked the James brothers playing running backs. Them boys was nice, man. We weren't winning like OU, but we had some dudes come through the program during them years. I want to make sure them folks don't get left behind, man. Them guys played their hearts out, and we had. By the way, we had some NFL dudes that just did the coaching, the culture. They didn't have all the things you would need to the ingredients you need for championship teams.
Culture. That is something we're going to touch on a little bit today, DMAC. Fantastic segue, sir. Almost like you're a pro at this. Man, before we get started, I want to remind everyone that our episode today brought to you by OU Insider, OUinsider.com. If you are looking to keep up with recruiting, team news, and the like, go grab yourself a membership over there. OUinsider.com. Brandon Parker and the gang over there do a phenomenal job. But DMAC, culture is important. We did an episode back in the very dawn of this podcast, but we are circling back and we are circling back with a deeper net. We are going further into the ocean tonight, man. We are going to get after it. This is going to be a series of stuff that we cover. We're going to talk about summer conditioning. We're going to talk about the winter and spring too, but predominantly what the players on the current roster are going to be getting themselves into, what it looks like. This is going to be a full peek behind the curtain for fans who may not understand what goes on to get guys ready to compete at the level that you want to see at Oklahoma. Those guys don't just throw a helmet and shoulder pads on and go out there and win, right? Winning starts in the off season. Winning starts in the weight room. Winning starts when you're getting up early, when you're eating right, doing the things to take care of your body. And we're going to discuss that. And what we're going to really highlight here today, DMAC, is the shock factor for freshmen when they arrive to campus, but then also how that progression looks over the years, going from being a true freshman to sophomore, and then how you look by the time you're in your fourth, maybe fifth, for some guys sixth year. I actually want to ask you some specific questions on that. But man, when I bring up the strength and conditioning program at Oklahoma, when I kind of harken back to those days for you, right? You didn't come into OU with Coach Jerry Schmidt, but he was the coach during a large portion of your career there.
Yeah.
When I say that name, when I talk about the strength program, and you could even talk about when you first arrived as well, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What are some of the first thoughts you have?
Strength and conditioner or Schmidt.
Let's go strength and conditioning first, just that initial arrival.
Yeah, it's a wake up call. Listen, I come from a high school where we had Olympic coaches as our track and field coaches. We had some of the very best athletes in America coming through our track program. Uh, like every year, our track program would have 10 to 15 D1 scholarships. Kelly White, who was a world champion, Janae Wright, who was a world champion. These are ladies. A kid named Craddock. He was an NCAA champion at Arkansas. These guys all came through our program, and so we learned how to lift in high school. I was at one of those schools where we did, jerk, we did, cleans, we did snatch. I learned how to snatch in high school, right? Wide grip and push through the hips. I got to OU and was like, yo, what is this? Just a totally different landscape of what I was expected to do to my body. When I was in high school, we would lift and we would lift heavy and we would lift with intention. And there were strategies and campaigns or whatever they call them. I don't know what the hell they call them. But like we had a whole what's that called? When you get like a 12-week, it's I don't know, whatever. I'm just gonna use campaign because
It's just, yeah, I mean, it's periodization. We would just call it a training
okay.
cycle. Yeah.
There it is, a cycle. There it is. So I did that. So, back in those days, OU would send you this big ass book. It was like this thick, and it would have like weightlifting, and it would have like some identity stuff, whatever. Like it actually was a cool little deal. Um, and I was at home, and I had a trainer. Me and Roy had trainers. We went to a place to get us prepared. And if you remember, I tore my ACL, so I was coming off an injury. And I'm like, yo, this is what they want us to do. And they crafted our plan around that book. Barry, I got to Norman. It was like, yo, what is this? It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it was so alarming to me how much stronger the sophomores, juniors, and seniors were than me. When I came in, 185 was like my max weight, right? So I'd put 185 on how many times I could rep it. I think I could probably do 225 4 times. And at my high school, that was legit. Like I was,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
guy. We got to fall camp and 185 was the beginning weight. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's how that goes.
you know what
Yep.
I'm saying?
Yep.
185 was like and I was a DB. I came to OU as a safety slash corner. That was what Mike Woods, Pee Wee Woods, Corey Ivy, Terry White, Rodney Radeau, those guys were they were repping it like it was nothing. And then it's me, Andre Woolfolk, Curtis Fagan, Will Barty came ready to play, and that's
I
why
could see
he went
that.
on to play in the league. Brent
Yeah.
Jackson was kind of more along the lines of us. Brent was kind of struggling. Brent was stronger than us, 2 years older than us, but Barry, we could barely lift. You know what I'm saying? Like we were
Yeah.
struggling with the initial weights. And then, in high school, you do 3-trip gassers, or at least in the 90s. Our gassers were 3-trippers, right? Where I come from. And again, I came from a school where I felt like they prepared us. Got to OU and it's like 12 4-trip gassers and your time is 26. What?
Sheesh.
4 is the first quarter. 4 is the entire thing. Like in
Yeah.
high school, you run 4 gassers, right? In college, 4 is the first quarter. So that wake up call, and by the way, this is under Blair Prince, and Blair Prince was a phenomenal strength coach. I think a lot of people lump him in with some of the decisions and some of the things that Coach Blake was forced to adhere to. Coach did not have full autonomy over his staff, hiring the whole deal, but he also made some bonehead mistakes in a sense of hiring Joe Dickinson to be his OC. That's another conversation for another day. Blair Prince is a good strength coach, and to this day we stay in touch. Um, but Blair Prince to Jerry Schmidt is like an episode of Scooby Doo to watching what's the scariest movie out? What's like
Oh
Paranormal
my gosh.
Activity or
Yeah,
whatever?
Saw.
Listen, Blair Prince was more so along the lines of like getting you to do the most you could do. Jerry Schmidt was like, I'm gonna kill you till you love it.
Mm,
And I'm gonna teach you how to harness pain and turn that into excellence. I think if you ask anybody who in our era of OU football, I guarantee you 99% of every player would say that. Like we learned how to accept pain, take pain, harness pain, and turn that into excellence. And um, if you learn that skill, I mean, obviously we turned around and won a championship. I would say Coach Schmidt was as paramount to us getting over that hill as any coach, as Bob. I've said this before on the podcast. Bob played good cop. Jerry was the bad cop,
mm.
and Bob said, "Hey, here's the deal. This is how Bob would say, men, listen to me. If anybody gives you a problem in the program, you come see me, except Jerry Schmidt." Damn, like you look like, oh fuck. If
Yeah,
you get on Jerry Schmidt's bad side, and
man.
there's not a bad side. If you aren't taking care
Sure.
of business, Bob's not going to save you. He's not going to save you. And so, that strength and conditioning piece, learning to have a growth mindset when it comes to your body, when it comes to nutrition, and really the strength and conditioning piece. If you're, certain guys come and they just don't cut. They just don't cut the mustard. You know what I mean? I don't know if cut the mustard means anything, but they just don't have it, right? Every recruiting cycle, there'd be five guys. You're like, how the hell did they get recruited? Like you could immediately
Mm,
see they just weren't good enough or
yeah.
fast. And like, you got a running back who's running a 4.7. You got a receiver who doesn't even know how to, give a wiggle at the line of scrimmage or stick their foot in the ground. They have no, what I'm saying, no COD. You have a backer who is slow and not overly physical. They rap, they never grapple, they never really, shoot through the hips. There's about 5 to 6 per cycle. So everyone else, it's really about like maximizing your body. And the other community of people who don't make it are those who can't mentally accept what strength and conditioning is. Strength and conditioning is harder than practice. Strength and conditioning is harder than scheme. Strength and conditioning, it puts you in a position. It's the part of football that you're not playing football. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm
Yeah.
on the field and it's one-on-ones and I gotta go against D Straight, let's go get it. You know what I'm saying? We and by the way, me and D Straight, we reminisced about our our times in practice because I went
Yeah.
against D Straight a ton, right? Like, slot receiver, X receiver. I played X and slot, and D Straight was our boundary corner. We had to go against each other in one-on-ones every week. But uh running 1600s, running the duck pond, running, with a weight vest and 75 pounds strapped to a sled up a hill in Norman in July, and it's 96 degrees and the humidity, and your friends are, all at Padre, or what I'm saying, Lake Texoma, and you're there. And by the way, your coaches are gone. Your coaches are on vacation and doing things with their family. It's you, it's the receiver group, it's the DB group, and it's Schmitty. And it's like, can you suck it up and get it done? I'd say 4 to 6 guys every cycle just were like, I tap out. I don't want to do this. I'm going home. And so,
Interesting.
the strength and conditioning piece as it relates to, I can't speak for other programs. I've heard programs were like, yo, we had to do like 4 miles, and like, man, what? Y'all did what? Yeah, man, we had to run miles. Nah, Schmitty found every way he could make us feel pain. And then those of us who learned how to harness it, those are the guys who come August and September, we'd strap up and be ready to play ball, knowing, we went to war with one another over the summer. So summer strength and conditioning, the summer piece, it's a big deal, man. And of course the science, and I'll let you speak more to that.
Yeah.
We weren't
I got,
just
yeah.
throwing up. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just like, yeah, I want to make you throw up. No, 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 no. There was very specific intention and strategy around the different positions and groups that we were working in, and what we did and how we did it and the times we had. Um, but all of it was designed to make you realize, like, yo, you got to go to war before you really go to war come fall.
So you touched on something, and this to me, there's so many people out that work in the sports performance, the fitness, the strength conditioning side, and there's so many different kind of lanes where those people operate, right? You got kind of the receiver rehab specialist kind of guys that people pay on the side who have the Instagram videos who are working with guys. There's like I think it's called the Route God on Instagram. It's actually really good
Mm-hmm.
stuff. He does a lot of really neat things. So if you guys don't follow, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Pretty sure it's the Route God. But he talks about things that are a little more, I won't say new age because it's been around, but he has a good understanding of some concepts when it comes to how we move and understanding how we move. But I think one of the things people lose, and this kind of goes to the criticism that people have had of Coach Schmidt over the years, and if there has been one, it has been he gets guys injured. It's the guys aren't they're having issues or whatever. I think one of the things people don't realize is as a strength and conditioning coach at the college level, one, having success is so much about experience. Rarely do
Yeah.
you see brand new strength coaches in the game take over a program like Oklahoma expected to win titles and go win titles. Why is that? Right? In school, in your education, in your certifications, you learn the theory behind things, why you want to do things, how to apply, when to apply, right? How to periodize, right? What does kind of test on what does winter look like, right? What does that preparatory phase look like? What does spring look like? For our guys who are going to play, what does fall look or summer leading up to fall? What does that look like? How about the guys who aren't going to play? What does that look like as they go into fall? And you're weeding that out. But so much of dealing with a team, right? Not dealing with just you training in the off season on your own with a guy, up in Cali or whatever you're doing. I'm talking about with a football team that has to be together, has to have some camaraderie, has to have
Yep.
some unity about them. Sometimes I don't want to say you throw certain things out, but a very well seasoned coach, a seasoned strength and conditioning coach is going to be able to say, you know what, on this day, I can probably load up and throw some junk volume on these guys as a means of some team chemistry, right? There's this balance of yes, you don't want to work to the point of injury, but you're also dealing with elite athletes for the most part at every position who have an insane work capacity and the ability to do a lot that normal folks can't, right? It might sound crazy, to Joe Blow on the street, well, what you're doing, but to the guys on your team, especially the guys who have been there, yes, it's difficult, but they also know it's doable, right? And it's important to you don't learn that without the experience, and Schmidt having been at programs like Notre Dame, like Florida, places where he was able to kind of cut his teeth, see how the elite guys looked, see how the guys who maybe didn't cut it, well, what were some of the common traits there? How do we get a guy who doesn't cut it to be where he needs to be? So back when you were at Oklahoma, well, we didn't necessarily have the early enrollees like we back then. Early enrollees were like anomalies, right? You didn't really that wasn't the norm as it is now, where you have golly 85% of your class signing in the spring. A lot of those guys, showed up for summer or part of the summer and or fall. So you talked about the preparation. When you got there with that initial group, um, the shock factor was certainly there. I want to ask about your initial group when you guys went into winter, that very first full off season, right? So you got there for, I guess into summer was when you reported at that time, or were you there for the
Uh,
full summer?
I got there week 3. Roy
Okay,
got there 3 weeks earlier. Actually, I'm sorry. You talk about summer or winter? Summer?
summer.
Summer, I went home for 2 weeks. thinking because they were
Okay.
voluntary workouts. I said, I'm
Got it.
homesick. So I went home. Roy stayed because he did intercession.
Okay.
He wanted to make a little extra bucks. And he
Sure.
called me like, bro. So yeah,
You
it was
learn.
not fun. It was not
So
fun.
so so take me into the mindset, right? Season's over. You're going into that first one, and that is the winter that Schmidt arrived then. So that would have been your first introduction to
My
Schmidt,
first
right?
winter was Smitty. My
Yeah.
first
So
winter was Smitty. Yeah.
so let's dive into that. Let's dive into that. The first day you walk in, well, what does it look like? Paint the picture. You're with your group, your other freshman, sophomore class. Like, what does that look like?
Winter or
Winter,
summer?
winter
Brother,
first.
listen. I said this on a pod before, I think. Damian Mackey was the first person to do the Stairmaster for Schmitty. I was the first, but it was the only time I ever did Stairmaster.
Oh
So
wow.
there's a sign on the door, and it says we're meeting with the strength staff. By the way, Bob hadn't even hired most of his coaches. He hired Schmitty very early on, right? I think Schmitty was one of his 2 or 3 first coaches with like Mike and Gino and those guys. They were like the first crew. So there's a sign. Hey, we got a meeting with strength and conditioning. It's at, let's just say it was at 2 o'clock. I don't remember the time, but I remember seeing it. I have very good time management. I'm a guy who likes to be 20 minutes early. Um, so me, Dre, Wolfolk, Kurt, we hung out with Jay Hunt a ton, Roy Lee, Mike Thompson. We're all maybe not Mike T yet. I don't know if Mike was there for the first winter, but we're all in the weight room, or excuse me, the locker room. And dude, we're 20 minutes early. Well, I'm like, I'm gonna take a quick nap. Like it's for some reason, naps in the locker room are legit. You
Yeah.
know, they got the towels locked in, and if you get them at the right time, the towels are warm. Locker room naps are legit. So I'm like, yo, I'm gonna take a nap, bro. I was like, just wake me up. So I set my alarm for the time of the meeting on my cell phone. So that, let's just say it's at 2. So my alarm is set for 2. I should have set it for 1:55. Well, I take my nap, and as I'm falling asleep, my boys is right there. I, my alarm is going off, and I'm in this thing by myself. I'm in the locker room. Everyone else is in the meeting room, in the red room. Everyone else is in
Oh
the red
no.
room. DMAC is in the locker room. But right, difference between Bob and Blair versus excuse me, Bob and Schmitty versus Blake and Prince. It's 2 o'clock. My alarm goes off right at 2. I run into the red room at 2. And I'm the first example of if you're on time, you're late. And if you're on early, you're on time. So I
Wow.
mean, the red room and the locker room is a 5 second, it's walk out the door, hallway into the other door. I'm not, it's not 201. It's definitely not 201. Mackey's definitely 30 minutes on the stairmaster. So
Oh my gosh.
I was the first pupil stairmaster,
Man.
but Schmitty got much more involved with it just because like I think I did like fifth like 15th level, and I only had 30 minutes. So it was tough, but it wasn't gonna kill me.
Yeah, it wasn't
There were guys
crazy.
there were guys who were doing like 22 for 2 hours. And if you
Oh my
fall off,
gosh.
it doesn't count. You gotta do it tomorrow. Like the Stairmaster became a thing. The Stairmaster is a thing for us. So anyway, Schmidt calls the meeting. He addresses me for 5 seconds. He literally says, "Hey, if you're on time, you're late, and if you're early, you're on time. See me after the meeting." That was literally it. I'm in my seat, like, damn, but it's 2 o'clock, and he's going through the sign, he's going through the methodologies and what he's done, and he's telling us his track record about Notre Dame and what he's done at Florida, and I think he was at like Ohio State or Nebraska, one of them.
Yeah.
He's been in some big time programs, and so we're all like, okay, bet. Then he tells us, he says, "Hey guys, listen, if you don't plan on finishing, don't start." We're all kind of like, we're all on Scully. You know what I'm saying? We're Oklahoma Sooners. Why would any of us not want to finish? Like, everybody was kind of like perplexed, right? We kind of, trying to rationalize what he's saying to us. But it kind of just, it was something that was said. We definitely thought about it, but we didn't think about it. And I end up doing the stairmaster that day. When we're done, he talks to me. Hey man, listen, I don't know how they, and he was throwing jabs. I don't know the way that you guys did things in the past, but that's not how we moving anymore. He kind of was letting
Mm,
it be known like there's a new sheriff in
okay.
town. By the way, I respected it, totally respected it. Did my 30 minutes, and then he pulled me at the end. He said, "Hey man, are you gonna be a guy who I can depend on to be a leader, or are you gonna be a guy who's gonna be a detractor?" And I said, "Nope. I tell you what, I apologize for that. I take this serious. I'm super proud to be here. By the way, my name is Damian Mackey, and I promise you this: I'll give you everything I have." And we had that little dialogue right at the end. So that meeting was on a Friday. The following Monday was the first off-season workout. Um, and let me just encapsulate that entire experience by saying this, and I'm not exaggerating. Over 20 guys quit. Our
Man.
first winter scholarship, 20 scholarship guys said, "Nah, this ain't for me." Um, just some of the things I won't say names. Okay, I won't say names, but this is documented. These are facts. Um, there's one day where we had workouts, and if you want me to, I'll go into schematics here in a second. But I just want to give
Sure.
you some examples of what expectations were. There's one day we're on Coach Ship's drill. Coach Ship drill was the 60-yard shuttle, 5 back, 10 back, 15 back. Right, you got to turn your back every time. You got to touch. In other words, you got to touch every line with your right hand or touch every line with your left hand. So
Which matters, by the way. Like,
hundred
it's a
percent,
different level
hundred
of
percent,
exhaustion,
hundred
fatigue.
percent,
The
100%.
line touch is important.
If I can do one way with my right hand and one way with my left hand, I can run it substantially faster. But
It's a different drill.
it's
Yeah.
a totally
Yeah.
different drill. But if you got to do
Yeah.
every line with your right hand or every line with your left hand, it's a totally different drill, right? So we're doing
Yeah.
60-yard shuttle with Ship. Uh, Coach Schmidt comes up to him in the middle of our drill. By the way, it's our drill. It's where the receivers are at Coach Ship's drill.
Okay.
He whispers in Coach Ship's drill, in Coach Ship's ear. Boy, this is a true story. It's a true story. In the middle of our time with Coach Ship, he walks out the indoor. It's winter, so everything's in the indoor. We're like, he didn't say nothing to us. He says nothing to us. We are like, what the hell just happened? However, we're also extremely happy because we get to rest. So, like, he walks out the drill. There's probably 2 or 3 minutes before anyone recognizes that we're not doing anything that we get to rest. So it's by the way, JT Thatcher is still a receiver at this time. Jerome Jackson's on the team.
Okay.
Brandon Daniels is still with us. Mike Jackson's a track guy. He came and played football or played. Yeah, he was a football guy for that. And then it's me, it's Dre, it's Kurt, it's Jay Norm, right? So our crew, and then these seniors will vary. Like, I think each drill is 12 minutes, right? If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. Well, we rotate, but the next drill is Coach Spurrier, and there was this thing between Spurrier and Mike Stoops. There was this thing between receivers and DBs. Roy's my best friend. He was literally the best man at my wedding, and we barely took pictures together in college because like it was just extreme competition. Like F you. When we on the practice field, it was no love. Like screw you and the DBs,
Yeah.
we on that ass. And they like screw you and the receivers, we coming for your necks. Like that was our dynamic.
Yeah.
And so when we would have Mike Stoops drill, he would kill us. And it would be like, bro, like relax, like relax. Like this is like
Oh my
we'd watch the
gosh.
DBs and the
Uh,
DBs and his drills were bag drills,
okay.
COD bag drills, and receivers. You know what I'm saying? We were better than the DBs. Like
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna stunt to you. We were the best athletes, right? But we see them, they chilling, they get water breaks. Da, 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 da. Well, when we go no water, no rest, he's on our like. By the way, it's a real thing, right? Like it's a thing. Well,
Oh man.
on the opposite, so we start telling Spurrier like, bruh, when the DBs or when we go to Coach Stoops drill, Mike Stoops, he's killing us. I said, Coach, we need you to kill the DBs. Like when they over here, kill them. All right, I got you guys. I got you guys. So he had sit ups and jump rope. So for
Okay.
us, he was like, "Hey, y'all, relax." So when we got to Coach Spurrier's drill, we get to relax. So we're relaxing, but everybody's distracted because everybody's like, "Where did Ship go?" Coach Schmidt literally had to like because he would be oversight. He literally had to take on Ship's drill because Ship left. Listen, man, we're in Spurrier's drill. Coach Coach Ship comes back with a D tackle that wasn't there. And I won't say his name, but he was married. and he was in bed with his wife. And Coach Shit walked in that grown man's house
Oh my
and
gosh.
pulled him out of bed and brought him to off
Oh
season.
man. Oh
By the
my
way,
gosh.
true story. I'm sure people probably have heard this story before. I'm not going to say his name because
Yeah, the
he
sleuths
bigger
are
than
gonna
me.
try to figure it out.
He bigger than me. But he literally brought him out of bed, and needless to say, he quit. He didn't make it through. I don't even think he played with us in '99. By the way,
Okay.
big, strong, athletic dude, could dunk. He was a hooper, nasty athlete. He got recruited by Blake. He got injured during the '98 season. So '99, he was going to be a returning starter who we thought could. He looked the part. He had a body, great athlete.
Yeah.
Dude was married, and Buddy flat out said, like, man, he came into my house in front of my wife and pulled, like they got into a little tussle in front of his wife.
Oh
You
my
know, the only
gosh.
thing I could think about is like, man, I hope she had, I'm saying, I hope she was properly dressed.
Yeah. No kidding, man.
Nah, but
Oh my
that off
gosh.
season,
Hmm.
I could roll off of my tongue. Nick Simpson was a good friend of mine. He never made it through. Stanley Peters, Terry, God, Dwight McKissick. I
Hmm.
could just name a lot of guys who Ahmed Kaba never made it through spring practice, right? These are guys who Schmidt was making it clear, man. Like, yo, there's a new sheriff in town. The standard is the standard. You either meet or exceed it, or this isn't for you. And Bob
Yeah.
wasn't going to save anybody. And so that first winter, here's what I learned. I learned that for the college level, I was a really good athlete. I was one of the me and Andre Woolfolk were two of the most quickest. We were the two quickest on the team. Dre was a freak of nature, bigger, stronger, faster than me. But I also learned grown man strength versus teenage strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a 19-year-old kid. 225 is really like it's a struggle to get up, and you've got grown men who can rep it 12, 14, 16, 17 times the same weight as you, 191. They just have more grown man strength, girth, and an experience. And so I learned that I could play college football because I'm coming off a knee. I never even touched the practice field that '98 season. I was on a whole nother field with Chris Dawson, rehabbing my knee. Going into that winter, I got confidence because I started to see like, oh man, okay, I got, what I'm saying, I got some juice. And if I learn the playbook, I can give myself a chance to play and to be a part of the team.
Yeah, man. Well, winter is such a preparatory kind of recovery phase. Like for those who you're when you're going through a full season, there are injuries that build up. There is a just accumulation of a lot of game fatigue, hits. So your body needs a little bit of a break, if you will. The winter side of training of an off season is really designed to get your body prepped for the rest of that upcoming year, right? So when you're mapping out a year's worth of training, you're saying, here's when our season starts. What is the best path for success for our athletes on this team to be their very best the moment we step on the field and guys start competing for playing time, right? So that is where why winter is so crucial. It's crucial for young guys, especially now enrolling early, to really learn the ropes, right? If you show up for summer now, for a lot of these guys, man, you're just behind the eight ball. You're not, because you don't have the understanding of intent, intensity, and volume, right? The amount of work actually being put on you, like what you're going to do with your trainer, what you're going to do, at the high school level. It is a different level of volume when you get to college, when you get to that standpoint, right? And of course, guys are coming in more prepared now, right? Because nothing's new under the sun, if you will.
Yeah.
Guys are that they have access to a lot of that, but even then, I've seen some of the orientation type programs, right? That guys get. For those a little behind the scenes, and you talked about this, I thought this was interesting. Before guys arrive, like we got our quarterback here who's going to Emporia. Before guys arrive to campus, the school will send them a booklet, a pamphlet. They'll know, hey, when you get here, here's what we're going to be doing. Here's kind of the bare bones of the programming. and he's a guy who power cleans a bunch of weight, but the volume is going to still be different. The intensity behind the coaching, the way the coaching is done, the time in which you have to be there, all of these are factors, all of these are variables, right? There's nothing when you're operating as a coach or trying to build discipline in that regard, nothing is not strategic, right? The wanting you to be on time by being early, the the 12 minutes, the type of drills that you're doing with the different coaches, nothing is by accident, right? That everything has a plan, there's a structure behind it, right? So as the year goes on, what you're looking to do is get your training more specific to the type of movement, forces, variability that you're going to have on the field. Winter, when you do the stations and stuff, is a little less footballish, a little more like breaking you down, trying to, if guys need to cut a little weight, if guys need to try to put a little bit of weight on, maybe you figure that out as they prep for spring ball. But winter, it can be a little less specific. When you get to summer, um, and this is where we want to go into, and then we're gonna dive into this, but then in upcoming episodes, go a little deeper into some very specific aspects. But first thoughts, DMAC, that initial summer with the Sooners, right? So now you've gone through. Yeah, of course, you talked about the knee injury when you first got in there, but you don't have that. You've gone through winter. You've gone through spring ball. You now
Yep.
know who Coach Jerry Schmidt is.
Yep.
Summertime is coming up. What was that like for you? And I also want to ask, what was in some of the meetings that you guys had prior to that? What were the expectations? What did coaches want to see out of the players, maybe on their own, maybe with other guys? What were they looking for to decide, okay, this guy for fall, he might be a guy we need to look at. This guy, maybe not. Well, what was that all about?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to speak to is summer and off season, winter conditioning, whatever you want to call it, are apples and doorknobs. Off season is about conditioning. It's about, like you said, it's about rehabilitation. A lot of guys don't do off season if they're coming off injuries or coming off surgeries, right? And then they kind of just build up to it. They want to be prepared for spring. Summer's a different animal. Summer's very specific. Summer, you have your own individual plan. Coach says, hey, I want you to weigh this much, right? You look at your charts at the end of off season, you run your 40, you do your, because pro days happen. And so when pro days are happening, the school mocks a pro day for the underclassmen. And so let's say pro days on the 8th, we'll mock it on the 7th or the 9th, right? And everybody will run their 40 and everybody will do their vert and their 5, 10, 5 and whatever, right? And so you are essentially during off season, or again, if you want to call it winter, everyone's working together, right? When we would do stuff, it'd be like a race. I never forget, man. One of my claim to fame is end of off season, coach had us doing 200s, and then he said, "Hey, this is Schmidt." He says, "Here's the deal. You guys want to run 4? Or you want to race 1? If I think everybody gave max, you only have to do run. If I think anybody coasted, you got to do more." We
Mm,
want to do 1, right? And Schmidt's ass puts me inside lane. I'm in the inside lane. If you're in the
okay.
inside lane, if you don't give it up, you run a shorter race than everybody else, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So I get out. Long story short, Dre's faster than me. Savo's a little faster than me. Kurt has more longer speed than me. Everybody else, they can't beat me, right? Dre has short speed and long speed. Savo's a little faster than me. Kurt has more long speed than me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm fast enough, and I and Gorilla Nuts didn't come from nowhere. And just
Hey.
we'll just leave it at that. Mackie was gonna go out there and leave it on the line. Where I won my heat, and it was a big
Okay.
deal because I beat Dre.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was very happy about that. But like that's how we would test. It was more about will,
Mm,
right? It was more
sure.
about like, you know what I'm saying? Summer, no. Summer was all about specification. Like the coaches got very clear on Damien's body. The coaches got
Hmm.
very clear on my times. The coaches got very clear on my weight, the amount of fat, where my fat was. And this is in the 90s, right? I
Yeah.
was there. I was there last year, and the machines they have that do all the indexes and all that
The
stuff now
DEXA.
is
Yeah.
ridiculous. But
Yeah.
even back then, it's like, Mackie, we need you to be 186. We need you to have 6% body fat. At that, you should be running a 448. You should have a 36.5 inch vert. Da 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 da. And then boom, you've got your program. It's 12 weeks. It's 11 weeks. All right. The first 3 weeks are really getting your body up to speed. So a lot of stretching, a lot of plyos, a lot of like box
GPP,
jumps,
baby.
whatever it's called. Yeah, you
General
know that stuff.
physical preparedness. That's what
There
we
it
call
is, right? So the first three weeks,
that.
a lot of hurdles, going under the hurdles,
Yeah.
technique, keep your bat this, da, 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 right? And
Sure.
then the first 4 weeks after that it's the worst month of your life.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, like we would do the 60-yard shuttle like once every 3 weeks, and we would and that was our running test too. And
Yeah.
so like the first time I had to do the 60-yard shuttle, it's I'm sorry, 300-yard shuttle. The 300-yard shuttle,
Okay.
it was
Okay.
60 yards 5 times. By the way,
Got it.
it's hell. I think our time in 99, our first summer was 45. Let me give you context. By our third year it was 41 and a half, and we were cooking it. But the first time we had to do it was
Wow.
45, Barry, and nobody could do it.
Yeah.
Nobody could do it. And so you go into that first 4 weeks, and it feels like they're trying to tear your body apart. That's how I always attribute it to, like, dude, you do your first 3 weeks in the weight room, Barry, and it's like, hey, bench press 155, 175, 195, 205. Those first three
Yeah.
weeks, you're like, oh man, you're killing it. You know what I'm saying? You in there, they got the music
Repping it out.
playing.
Yeah.
Week one. Okay, so that's the 3 weeks to 11 weeks. When you get to week four, I guess I'll call it week four.
Yeah.
Week four, 200, 220, 235, 250. I had never lifted 250 in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I had never even attempted to do 250. And I'm like, bruh, last week I was finishing with 210.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But week
Yeah.
four, it's you're squatting, it's 275, it's 305, 345, 390, week four. And then and then
Yeah.
and then you're on the field, and you've got to run, you know, 4 600-yard shuttles, 100 yards 6 times, and you got a minute and 50 seconds. Like, those 4 weeks are pain. I'm just being very honest with you. Like, we vividly remember, we have a Facebook group called Schmitty Built Group, because guys had to become Schmitty Built. Like, you came to college something, and those of us who made it through are Schmitty Built. We know mentally you can deal with the trauma. It's traumatizing. Like, we
Yeah.
would have groups where we'd be like 10 years later, like, who still wakes up in the middle of the night thinking, da, 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 da. Like, Schmitty's got some like, to a man. Most of us are like, hell yeah, I still do it. And so you get to that point, and there's the science behind it. If you go and say, hey, Schmitty, I want to know why, Schmitty would pull you in his office, or Coach Ed was pull you in their office, and they would tell you why, and they would tell you
Yeah.
what your body's capable of. And by week 7, by week 8, you're killing it.
Snapping. Yep.
45,
Yep.
you can't even do it. Now I'm running 42 and a half on the 60-yard shuttle, right? And so, or 300-yard shuttle. So, you look at summer, and obviously we'll start going into a lot of detail around what that looked like, some stories and things that I remember, and you can, back that up with science and such. But I always thought about summer as Mackey being the best version of himself going into season. And like, if I looked at my weight chart and Dre looked at his weight chart, Dre and I generally lifted together. They were different. So, in off season, it would say receivers do this, 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 this. In summer, Damian Mackey had his own, Andre
Yep.
Woolfolk had his own, Curtis Fagan had his own, Antoine Savage had his own, Josh Norman, had his own. And if you missed a rep, if you had a bad rep, our group, I would always have Schmitty or Coach Ed would always be in our group. So, like, they would disaggregate you out by, they knew, you know what I'm saying? And even in
Yeah.
'99, I started out with like the GA strength coach. By the
Yeah.
end of summer, Schmitty was my, he was my strength coach, and
Interesting.
he won't let you skip one rep. He won't. If you have a bad rep, you got to do it again. And so again, changes your body and gets you ready to play ball come August and September.
Yeah, that's the specificity you kind of talk about, right? The closer you're getting to season, and this is be kind of probably the last thing we touch on today. That's where to circle back, the experience matters so much, and the ability to, and this is what makes a guy like him successful, the ability to look back and go, okay, when I had a 6 foot, 190 pound receiver at Florida for them to be successful, what were
Mm,
they run? And I know I think fans have this idea of guys, maybe being like try hard players and they don't need to have all those prerequisite skills. He's just the reality is when you have some of these like try hards, right? A Hunter Renfro comes to mind as a guy who people viewed that way, right, at Clemson. I guarantee you, if you went to go look at some of the drills, if you looked at his numbers, he might not have the most impressive 40, of guys who like really know how to run the 40. But I guarantee you, man, those 5-10-5s, L
yep.
drill, I guarantee you, vertical, broad jump, he's probably killing most of those, or at least successful in a piece of it, right? Rarely do you have guys who start and play big minutes, who play big snaps, be guys who aren't, mostly the top dogs in a lot of those drills, right? This idea that you'll have a guy, kind of scrub out on all this, but then you get him out there on Saturday and that's not the reality of things,
No,
right?
it's not.
The
It's
reality
not.
is the linebacker who power cleans the most weight is probably the strongest dude in the room. He's probably seeing the field. Are there exceptions? Of course, right? You have strong guys who maybe they had a history in a background in powerlifting. Maybe they had a background in Olympic weightlifting, so they're able to do some really impressive stuff, but they don't quite have the football piece down. You do have those, but by and large, your fastest, quickest, strongest athletes are going to be the guys who the coaches are going to look at and go, man, if we can get him to understand football, right? This is
Yep.
why the speed matters, getting a guy like a Zion Reagans to bring it down up to kind of contemporary times. Speed matters, man. That is very important. When you listed the guys you were talking about kind of running against, right? And Curtis and Antoine and
Wolf.
Andre Woolfolk. Those are guys who played a lot of snaps, right? And you guys were all kind of in that same vein. To me, that is a showcase of, there were very real expectations for you for what your group was expected to do, what each other position group was expected to do, and then that led up to fall, where you guys had to go perform. Last thing I want to ask before we get out of here tonight, just the leadership piece,
Yeah.
from some of the seniors to some of the freshmen. What does that look like, Summer, as you guys are also taking time to maybe go get some routes in, maybe throw some balls? Like, what does that
Maybe.
look like? Man, you would hope so, right? If you want to be good on
Yeah.
Saturday. What
Let me
does
say
that look
this.
like?
So coaches created a plan right at the beginning, and then when I was at OU, it might be different now. Like the coaches, we never saw the coaches in the summer. I can say, and I would be honest if things were otherwise. Like the coaches never cheated. They never interacted with us. They
Mm,
never, you know. There might be times where we'd have 7-on-7 and you could see Mike or Spurrier like parked across the street and or their
sure.
car whatever, right? But like we never had any interaction with our coaches outside of the strength coaches. And so um my years at OU, I learned in 99, uh everything was run by our seniors. And that's why you'll always hear me pay homage and respect to our two captains. And we have four captains. Seth Latrobe was a captain. That's Big Bro. I saw him in Norman and loving to death. But the two guys ran the ship. It was Josh Heupel and it was T. Marshall. Period. Those guys ran the ship, and Hype wouldn't say, "Hey Mackie, do you want to catch routes?" Hype would say, "Hey Mackie, we're going to be on the field 9 o'clock. I'll see you there." It
Mm,
might be a call, it might be an email. We didn't have text message. No, we didn't have text messaging, but it might be a call, it might be an email, whatever. And Hype would send it to the crew. And more often than not, Dre was going to be there. I was going to be there. Kurt was going to be there. Savo was going to be there. And sometimes, like, guys would come. and Hype would be like, nah, man, we don't need you to come. Like Hype was like, bro, I want to spend 90% of my time with the guys who are going to be catching 90% of my balls,
Wow.
and I just remember Hype was the first one who believed in me. Hype was the first one who believed in me. I told the story earlier on our pod, and I know I'm kind of going off a little bit here, but
It's all
when
right.
we went to that first spring, I was fourth string, right? I was a fourth string, and they didn't know where to put me because I'm coming off a knee. That no one knew me. None of my teammates they knew me because we came up
Sure.
together in the bud. They didn't know if I could play ball because I never even put on pads. I think I put on pads for like the fall game and for OU Texas. Coach Blake promised me I could go to OU Texas. I think I put on pads for OU Texas. I can't remember. But we go in the spring. I moved to receiver because there was like two receivers on Scully, and they put me at X. Whatever. I'm like, I'm not an X. I'm a Z or a slot, but they put me at X initially. I was a little pissed off about that. And I've got Jerome Jackson coming back. He's the perennial starter. He's
Yeah.
entrenched. Second string was JT Thatcher. JT had played 3 or 4 positions, but JT's a 6'1", 210-pound dude who runs a 4.4 legit. He's a 4.4 guy, third year in the program, a Norman kid, right? So I'm like, fudge, okay. And then they brought a freaking track guy. We got Michael Jackson. He runs a 47 in the quarter. He's a 10.62 guy. You know what I'm saying? And he's
He
chiseled
was
to
a
this
good
day.
athlete, man.
To this day, Mike
Yeah.
J's chiseled, right?
Yeah.
Senior, grown ass man, can lift 225, however, I couldn't
Yeah.
lift it but 4 times. He's probably lifting it 15 times at that point. And then it's me. I'm the fourth string X. And so JJ's a one. We're in that first spring scrimmage. JJ, by the way, JJ's a phenomenal football player. He wasn't a great athlete, but phenomenal good football player. He's a guy who was really smart and tough and assignment sound. He does what he does. Twos come up. JT goes in. JT busts. Right? JT busts and Spurrier. God damn it, JT. Blah 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 blah. Mike J, you're in. Mike J's a track and field guy, playing receiver. I'm sure he played high school receiver, but he hadn't played, and he's a 22-year-old dude at that point. They call a play, he drops the ball. God damn it, do we have any receivers who want to catch the ball? I'm like, Coach, I want to catch the ball.
Yeah.
And go back and listen. I think it's our second pod. Ace
It's
Flip
what, yeah.
96 Z post. Ace Flip 96 Z post, man. Changed my life forever. I'm a fourth team receiver. I knew the play. I knew the play was a play designed for me. If they're in zone, they lined up in 5, which is a 2 cloud, which they're gonna rotate out. I knew if I run at proper depth and if the other receivers do what they're supposed to do, there's a window for me. I run my depth 13 to 10. As I break down, the ball's already in the air. I'm coming out of my cut. The ball's already there. I catch the ball, and because Hype was so good at that, he'll let you catch it and do something with it. So the
Yeah.
ball comes, I catch it. The backer is trying to get me. I kind of just scoot on him. Or excuse me, the corner slides down. I literally hit him to the outside. And I'm down the sideline for like 15 yards. The safety pushes me out of bounds. From that point on, I was a 2, and that you may get one shot. You know what I'm saying? Like and the
Mm,
thing is, Mike J is a great player, but like his first impression, and I'll never
that
forget, they always kind
matters.
of had a prejudice against him. Like, oh, he's a track guy. So Mike J was on kickoff, he was on punt, so he did a ton of specials, but like he never really had the trust again of coach to be a guy. And I always think about my first impression, right? I had to know the play, I had to run it correctly, I had to catch the ball, and of course, I was always a guy for Yak. And so after I caught the ball, I just did what was natural. And I always felt like JJ kind of like little broed me because, and I was a freshman. I believe if I was a sophomore, it would have been a problem for him. But like
Okay.
JJ became my big bro. But I was a better athlete, bigger, stronger, faster, and quicker. JJ was just a smart, sound, and he was rugged. He was a good ball player, and to this day, he and I are tight. Um, but yeah, man, when that opportunity presents itself, B, you got one chance. There's 85 guys on
Yeah.
Scully. There's 12 receivers, and 3 to 5, or I'd say 4 to 5 are going to get 90% of the snaps. How do you get yourself in that conversation? Are you prepared mentally, physically, and really spiritually, right, to be someone who they can count on? And are you someone the coaches can trust? And so that spring gave me the confidence to go into summer. I'll go into summer and the details of it because I
Yeah.
got my ass kicked. That first summer, I went home for 2 weeks, so I missed 2 of the 3 weeks of prep.
Ooh,
And we'll go into,
yeah,
Spurrier
man.
had gold. I mean, Spurrier, Schmidt had gold stars. I mean, he had so many things that he could use to pull our strings. It was genius, and a lot of those things I still use as a business professional today, and I remember and I rely on when I deal with difficult tasks or time in my life. So, salute to
Wow.
Schmidt. I'll always have a ton of respect for him. God dang, Minnesota's winning 63 to 110.
Get out of town. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I turned it off. I saw it had stretched to like 30, and I was like, whoa, what? Okay, game 7, baby. That'll be
Yeah,
fun.
the
Hopefully the
scrubs are
Thunder
all
can
in.
do it. Hopefully the
Yeah.
Thunder can do that too, man. Yeah, man, DMAC, good stuff. For folks who don't know, I know we have some younger listeners too who were literally not alive when you were playing DMAC. They were not even conceived by then. But man,
Man.
DMAC, you had some wiggle to your game, man. You had some scoot, for sure. That there were, and I believe, am I right? Were you the leading pass catcher in the Natty game?
Yes.
Yes.
I had the
Yeah.
freshman record for touchdowns
Yeah.
until Ryan Broyles, I believe, broke it. So I had 4 touchdowns as a
Broyles.
as a
Yeah.
freshman. Broyles got
Uh-huh.
5, and then Kenny, I think, got 7 as a
Yeah.
freshman.
Kenny was a killer. Kenny was a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll go into the details. I'm curious to hear, some of the ways he would leverage other guys against each other. I'm curious to hear some of the specifics about the drills, and we're going to talk about it. We got time leading up to this year. We thought it would be great insight, given my background and given what DMAC has and his experience in the program, right? Especially at kind of the dawn of what we now know as OU football, right? I think OU in the 90s, man, they had a fork in the road and it could have gone south real quick. And we've seen programs like a
Nebraska.
Miami, Nebraska make some decisions. And all of a sudden, look where they are, 2 decades in, right? You let go of Frank Solich because you think the grass is greener somewhere else. And Frank Solich might be the best Nebraska coach they've had since maybe the guy they just hired. Like, and it's not even close.
Actually, he
Uh,
is. He
yeah,
he he definitely is.
yeah, and we're gonna talk about it. But also in the meantime, go over to OU Insider, grab yourself a membership, and make sure you are subscribed to the Barry and Mac Show on Apple, Spotify, wherever it is you're listening to podcasts. Also, subscribe over here on YouTube. Make sure you're listening. Share it with your friends. Let everybody know what's going on. Let everybody know that we're gonna build up to this upcoming season. As summer hits, we're gonna talk about what's going on in the summer. We're going to give you whatever inside scoop that we've got, whatever tea we feel can be spilt that doesn't need to be over there on the site. We're going to try and talk about it, provide a little bit of commentary, context, and give you guys what you want. Sooner Nation loves this stuff, and that's why we keep bringing it to you. Thank you all so much for listening. DMAC, before we get out of here, any parting shots for the people, man?
Getting warmed up, man. Feeling
That's right.
felt like a rookie for the first one. Feeling good. I feel like this is an area where a lot of people ask me questions offline, and a lot of people are interested in wanting to know what the behind the scenes stuff looks like. And having experienced it myself, and then went back and really did a deep dive last summer. I feel like it's a space where we have a lot of knowledge, and we can provide a ton of value. So looking forward to this four
Absolutely.
part series.
Heck yeah, man. Awesome stuff. Well, Sooner Nation, want to thank you all for tuning in today, and we will see you soon.